Welcome to weekly Forex forecast from Forex Trading Wizard Academy. This is Forex Wizard, your trading coach. I will be doing a complete multi-time frame analysis of all the hottest currency pairs and indices that you will be looking to trade next week. The list is not longer that much, but I will put a timestamp in the description area here. But I will suggest you to watch all of them. As you have seen in our previous weekly Forex forecast, most of the pairs did exactly according to the analysis. As you can see, this week is the third week of the month, a very important week as well. Quite a few high impact news coming in the upcoming week, including JPY and dollar and GBPUSD. So based on that, I will be doing a complete multi-time frame analysis one by one. Before I begin this weekly Forex forecast, guys and girls, make sure that you give a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. So let's begin first of all with DXY. Okay, traders, so let's begin with DXY to see overall picture in the market. First of all, I will be starting with the monthly chart to see how the market is heading. Now from the monthly perspective, we can see that this is the monthly candle that has an initial drop with a long wick handle. We have seen so far a huge drop on the monthly on DXY, and this is the monthly resistance level here on DXY. We can expect now DXY to go ahead and retest and then to drop down again, as it is a long-term bullish market. Now, if we look at the weekly chart to see how the market is doing, we can see that from the weekly perspective, there was a weekly bullish move followed by a weekly pullback. Now, we saw that back-to-back quite a few weeks of drop. In the previous week, we can see the market has gone up again for another pullback. So this is the weekly candle. What I think that this week we might see that the price might break this weekly high, and then we can expect another drop. As we can see a drop pullback, we can expect another downside this week on DXY. If we look at the daily chart, we can see that from the daily perspective, this is the daily drop followed by a pullback to this previous resistance level. If you draw this level here on DXY from the daily perspective, this is the previous support here, which is turning resistance here. And from that level, we can expect DXY to drop down to create a new lower low. Now, if we look at the intraday time frame from the 4-hour perspective, we can see that DXY from the 4-hour, there is a very important support level here, which is turning resistance. And we have seen that DXY initially has bounced back to this level, expecting DXY to go ahead, retest, and then to drop down again to create a new lower low. This is the level that we will be waiting on DXY to give us another entry opportunity. As soon as we will find suitable entry, we will be looking to short. Now, with that being said, we can expect most of the USD pairs to follow the DXY, as they are mostly mirror on DXY. So with that being said, we will be starting with euro dollar to see how the market is behaving this week, as euro dollar is mirror of DXY. If we look at the monthly chart on euro dollar, we can see that from the monthly perspective, this is the monthly price action. There is a huge monthly bullish impulse here on euro dollar followed by a monthly drop, and we can expect for the price to go ahead and to fill that monthly long wick. Now, so far we can see that euro dollar already has moved up, coming back down again, and this week we might see another wave of drop, and then we can expect for the price to go ahead and fill that long wick at the top. Now, looking at the weekly chart on DX euro dollar, we can see that from the weekly perspective, this is the weekly impulse on euro dollar followed by a narrower correction in that area. And if you look at this euro dollar support here, this is the support level, and there is a doji here, and there is an imbalance in that zone. I think that euro dollar this week we might see a drop and then to reject to the upside to create a new higher high. Now, if you look at the daily chart on euro dollar, we can see that from the daily perspective, there is a daily doji, initial drop, a doji, and what I think that first day of trading week, we can expect further drop, and it might form a double doji, or any retest of this support level can give us another entry opportunity on euro dollar. Now, looking at the further lower time frame, we can see that from the lower time frame perspective on euro dollar, this is the drop to the support level. And if you look at this, is the previous swing low in this uptrending market on euro dollar, was creating series of higher high and higher low. And this swing low is quite important, as we could see the price is breaking down again to create a new lower low, and then we can expect for the price to bounce back up to create a new higher high. Now, if you look at in that area, what do you see? That this is the resistance level, and I will be waiting for euro dollar to have another wave of drop, and there we can expect initially to go for a short trading opportunity on euro dollar. As soon as we find suitable entry, we will be looking to going long on euro dollar and going short from this level for the short term if we see the trading opportunity in the market open. Now, let's look at AUD USD. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we have. Now, AUD USD from the monthly perspective, we can see that from the monthly, AUD USD has so far made a significant bounce and expecting for a pullback, and then to go ahead again fill that long wick at the top from the monthly time frame. Now, if we look at the weekly chart, we can see that from the weekly perspective, this is the weekly bullish engulfer, followed by this week we have seen so far a pullback to the downside, expecting AUD USD to bounce back down to drop below this level. As we are expecting DXY to break out and then to drop, we could see a mirror on AUD USD as well, as this instrument trying to form an inverted head and shoulder, expecting for the price to break, to grab liquidity, and then to bounce back to the upside in that area. Now, if we look at the daily chart on AUD USD, we can see that from the daily, this is the daily impulse, expecting a correction further and then to bounce back up to create a new higher high. Now, if we look at the further lower time frame on AUD USD, we can see this is a very significant level of support. There is a bounce. There is only one red candle in that area, which providing a high liquidity zone, and we'll be waiting for AUD USD to drop a bit more downside to retest this smart money area. This is the previous resistance here, which is turning support here, expecting AUD USD initial drop to this support level and then to bounce back up to create a new higher high. Now, this is where we will be waiting for the price to give us suitable entry. As soon as we will find suitable entry, we'll look for going long with a high probability trade setup. Now, let's look at GBPUSD. Let's see what kind of opportunity currently we have. Now, looking at the monthly chart on GBPUSD, we can see that from the monthly, there is a long wick at the top on the monthly, and also there is a healthy body, expecting GBPUSD to drop down again for deeper pullback and then to bounce back up to fill that long wick at the top. Now, looking at the weekly chart on GBPUSD, we can see that from the weekly perspective, this is the weekly impulse followed by a narrower correction. Now, what I think that this week we might see initially dropping down further on GBPUSD to retest this previous resistance, which is turning support here, and from that zone we will be waiting for GBPUSD to bounce back up to create a new higher high. And if we look at the daily chart on GBPUSD, we can see that from the daily time frame, this is the daily impulse followed by a pullback. Now, this is the previous resistance here, which is turning support here, and we'll be waiting on the lower time frame for the price to bounce back down and then to move back up to create a new higher high. So this is where we can see that this is the previous resistance here. On the lower time frame, we will be waiting for GBPUSD to break down, to grab liquidity, and then to bounce back up to create a new higher high. This is where we will be waiting for entry opportunity. In the beginning, we'll try to find sell opportunity on the lower time frame. If we find it, as it is still locally downtrend, we will be looking to short. And if we see enough reversal confirmation, we will be looking to going long on GBPUSD with a high probability trade setup. Now, let's look at dollar CAD. Looking at the monthly chart on dollar CAD, we can see that from the monthly perspective, this is the monthly drop on dollar CAD followed by a pullback, and this is the monthly candle so far on dollar CAD, forming a long wick at the top. We will be waiting for dollar CAD to go ahead for a pullback and then to drop down again. Now if we look at the weekly chart on dollar CAD, we can see that there was a red candle followed by this week again pullback. The sellers are a bit more stronger here at the moment. What I think that this week we might see initial bounce, and then we can expect for the price to drop down again as we see the sellers showing further momentum here. Now if we look at in that zone on on dollar CAD, we can see that this market forming a kind of reversal here, expecting dollar CAD to bounce back up to drop down again, and we might see that the price again retesting the support before going up finally to the upside on the lower time frame. Now intraday perspective on dollar CAD, we can see that this is a there was a drop, quite a few sessions of consolidation. The price has gone back up. We'll be waiting for dollar CAD to go up to retest and then to drop down again. This is where we will be waiting on dollar CAD to give us suitable entry opportunity for this potential bearish momentum. Now let's look at ENPR, and then we'll be looking at gold, guys and girls. So make sure that you stick till the end of this weekly forex forecast. Looking at the GBP JPY, looking at the monthly chart on GJ, we can see that from the monthly perspective on GBP JPY, we can see this is the monthly impulse followed by a narrow candle here. On GBP JPY from the monthly, we see there is a long wick, very narrow body, expecting GJ to come down again to retest again, as this is nearing to the monthly support. We might see another retest from the seller, and then we can expect for the price to bounce back up. Now if we look at the weekly chart on GBP JPY, we can see that from the weekly perspective, this is the weekly impulse followed by a correction, and there is another impulse followed by last week of trading. We saw previous week a bullish pin bar. Now this pin bar is in fact a bullish continuation pattern, but at the same time we saw that there was a back-to-back 2 weeks of drop, a pullback, and we might see further downside on GBP JPY before bouncing it. And what I think that with the weekly opening, we might see downside, and at the end of the week we might see that the price is going back up to form another bullish candle. As it is a long-term bull market, we might see that the bulls are becoming fully in control in this market. Now looking at the daily chart on GBP JPY, we can see that from the daily perspective, last day of trading week we saw a daily bullish candle, back to back 4 days of bullish move. There is a strong drop followed by a pullback. Now this daily candle on GBP JPY is a continuation pattern. At the same time, what I think that as the price moves from liquidity to liquidity, we could see that GBP JPY dropping down below this level and then bouncing up at the end of the week. So if we look at the intraday perspective, here is the a local bullish move, and as the price has a huge liquidity here, and what I think that GJ might come back down again below this level, and from this zone we could see it may start its again uptrending market structure. We'll be waiting on GJ to give us potential setup. Now you can see there is an impulse here on the 1 hour chart, and the bulls are not getting enough strength in that area. We'll be waiting for a bearish continuation here on the local time frame. If we see that GBP JPY has formed enough bearish pattern in the beginning of the week, we'll look for going short on GBP JPY. And what I think that if GJ might manage to drop below this level, these are the two zones that we will be waiting for potential entry opportunity in GBP JPY. Now let's look at CHF JPY, and also we'll be looking at dollar yen. Now looking at the CHF JPY, looking at the monthly chart, we can see that from the monthly perspective, this is the monthly price action here, a monthly impulse back to back 2 months. So far we saw that in CHFJPY previous months a narrower candle. This month we saw a long wick at the top and also long wick at the bottom. And if you look at closely here, what do we see on CHFJPY? For the price to retest and then to drop down again. Now looking at the weekly chart, we can see that from the weekly back to back 2 weeks of drop, and we will be waiting on CHFJPY for the price to go ahead and retest and then to drop down again. Now if we look at the daily chart on CHFJPY, we can see that back to back 2 days of bullish move, and at the same time the price is approaching this previous support, which is turning resistance. And I think that we might see these are in the beginning of the week, we might see another drop like the on JPY, as most of the JPY pairs behave in the same way. And from that liquidity zone we could see that CHFJPY giving us suitable entry opportunity to the upside with a high probability trade setup. Now let's look at dollar yen. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity currently we have. Now dollar yen, if we look at the monthly chart on dollar yen, we can see that from the monthly perspective, this is the monthly impulse on dollar yen, and with that monthly impulse we can see this is the monthly price action, and this is the resistance level here on dollar yen on the monthly. I will be waiting for the price to retest the monthly resistance and then to have another rejection. What I think that as it is a long-term bull market, the bias long-term could be to the upside. Now if we look at the weekly chart, we can see that from the weekly so far dollar yen has formed significant bullish price action, and as it is continuing to the upside, any pullback to the downside might give us potential bullish opportunity on dollar yen. Now if we look at the daily chart, we can see that from the daily dollar yen had a huge drop. It's a clean bearish drop on dollar yen, followed by a pullback to the upside, and this is a very high liquidity zone. We will be waiting on dollar yen for the price to drop down again for a deeper pullback and then continuation to the upside. I think the dollar yen even might form a double bottom or W, then it could continue to the upside towards its long-term uptrending direction. Now if we look at the 4-hour time frame, we can see that dollar yen is gathering liquidity. This is the liquidity candle, a huge liquidity. There is also liquidity candle, there is also liquidity candle. So as it is gathering a huge liquidity along the way, and as the market structure for long term is bullish, we could see that dollar yen is coming down for a deeper liquidity grab for another bounce to the upside. Any of this level that I will be waiting on dollar yen for the price to drop down to grab that liquidity and then to bounce back to the upside. This is the level that we will be waiting on dollar yen. As soon as we find any local breakdown on the lower time frame, we will be looking to going long on dollar yen with a high probability trade setup. Now let's look at WTI. Let's see what kind of opportunity we have in WTI. Looking at the monthly chart on WTI, we can see that from the monthly perspective, this is the monthly bullish candle followed by a bullish pin bar. Now what we saw that this is the monthly candle on WTI, and with that monthly candle we'll be waiting for the price to drop down for a deeper pullback, and then we'll be looking to go long on WTI. Now looking at the weekly chart, we can see that this is the weekly bullish engulfer, another bullish engulfer, and that's the sign that WTI currently bulls are very stronger, and this is a bullish channel on WTI. We'll be waiting for a pullback and then to continue to the upside to create a new higher high. Now looking at the daily chart on WTI, we can see that from the daily perspective, this is the daily impulse, and I will be waiting for the price to drop down for a deeper pullback or continue or a retracement before we look for going long on WTI. Now from the intraday time frame on WTI, this is the previous liquidity zone here on WTI, and what I think that the price might come back down to this liquidity zone, and as soon as we find suitable entry on WTI, we will be looking to going long with a high probability trade setup. Let's look at gold, starting with again monthly chart on gold. We can see that from the monthly perspective, this is a bullish market at the moment on gold. We have seen that with this monthly impulse, gold has created an all-time high and then has come down for a pullback, and we can see that gold again creating a new higher high. Now previous months we have seen a long wick doji. Now that doji is a bullish continuation. As a result, this month we have seen that once market open, there is a strong bounce to the upside to create a new higher high. Now if we look at the weekly chart on gold, we can see that after back-to-back 3 weeks of bullish move, this week we saw a very narrow weekly candle, which is a sign that the bulls are strong enough in this market. And I think that this week we might see initial break of this weekly low that can give us a momentum for the buyers to bounce back to the upside, and I think that the price might react to this support level from the weekly time frame. Now if we look at the daily chart, we can see that from the daily, this is the daily candle, there was a huge drop to this support level, and we have seen immediate rejection to the upside after breaking the daily candles low. Now this is a from the daily perspective. If we look at the overall picture, it's a big bullish move followed by a narrower consolidation pattern here. Now what we saw that previous day, there is a candle which has a long wick at the bottom, and what we saw, the price from the daily perspective last day of trading week initially has gone up, is still maintaining series of lower high in that zone, and currently the price is breaking this support level. And what I think that the price might try to break this low, because this is the weekly low, which is a very important liquidity zone. As the price moves from liquidity to liquidity, any break and then continuation to the upside will be a high probability setup. Now looking at the 4 hour, we can see, we can identify this triangular pattern is forming here on the intraday time frame on gold. And with the triangular pattern, what we can expect for gold to remain consolidated in that area and marching into one point, expecting gold to break down, initially grab the liquidity and then bounce back to the upside to create a new higher high. Now looking at the 15-minute chart to see how the price is evolving, we can see that this is the support level here, support here, support here, and every time the price is forming series of higher low. So as this triangular pattern is being formed, I will be waiting for the price to break that low, which we could see with the market open. That could lead this price to become overextended to the downside, and we will be waiting for potential bounce from this level. As it is a long-term bull market, I will try to find the best trading setup on the bullish side as soon as the market open. Guys and girls, I believe that you enjoyed this analysis. Make sure you give a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. And if you want to trade all of them, including gold, euro, dollar, GBPUSD, and all the instrument that you are trading, you can find a link below this video in the description area. You can visit the website. We have a couple of spots to join. Give a thumbs up and also let us know if you have any question using the live chat in the website. If you click join now button, then you will be able to access everything that we have in Forex Trading Wizard Academy. So now let's look at indices. Let's see, starting with the US30, looking at the monthly chart on US30. Now from the monthly, we can see that this is a monthly bullish impulse, back to back, quite a few months of strong impulse on US30, and we can see that this is a very narrower monthly candle so far, which, as it is a long-term bull market, we will be waiting for the price to drop down and then to bounce back to the upside to create a new higher high. Now if we look at the weekly chart on US30, we can see that from the weekly perspective, the price forming a liquidity candle. As it is a bullish market, any break below this level, that we will be waiting for the price to drop down, grab the liquidity, and then to bounce back to the upside to create a new higher high. Now if we look at the daily chart, we can see that from the daily perspective here, this is the daily support level, and there was a huge consolidation pattern in that area, expecting US30 to drop to this support level. And what I think that we might see initial drop, as this market is a very strongly bullish trend. At the same time, the trend is a bit exhausted. We might see deeper liquidity grab, and if we see the market has dropped, especially below this support, we can look for going long on US30 with a high probability trade setup. Now let's look at NASDAQ. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity currently we have in NASDAQ. Now again, looking at the monthly chart, we can see that NASDAQ is a long-term bullish market. Starting with this monthly impulse on NASDAQ, we'll be waiting for the price to drop down and then to create a new lower low before it bouncing back to the upside like the US30, as it is a long-term bullish market. If we look at the weekly chart on NASDAQ, we can see that from the weekly perspective, this is the weekly impulse followed by a correction, impulse correction. We'll be waiting for a deeper pullback. As we see, back-to-back 3 important wave has formed on the weekly. We might see now the price might try to break this weekly low, as there is a high liquidity for this market. Now looking at the daily chart on NASDAQ, we can see that from the daily perspective, this is the daily impulse correction. The price is forming series of higher high and higher low. This is the previous swing low, which is the support level on NASDAQ, and I will be waiting for the price to drop down further below this level, especially below this support, as this is the weekly support as well. And once we see suitable entry in that area, we'll be looking to going long on NASDAQ with a high probability trade setup with our students. I hope that, guys and girls, you enjoyed this weekly Forex podcast. If you enjoyed, then subscribe to the channel, and also don't forget to like this analysis. With that being said, thank you very much, and I'll see you soon again trading live or with another analysis.